All right, bringing it right back for match 3, which will be game 7 of week 3 for the LJL. 2 more games to go. We're going to dive into CGA versus Rascal Jester. Now, Sengoku picking up their win of the week over here against Axes puts them at now 4-1 in the split. So picking up that win for them is actually a great sign for them moving forward, and sets them up in a position that they'll have an opportunity to hopefully move on and hopefully try to pull away from CGA. So CGA are going to need this win if they want to try and keep pace with Sengoku. Of course, that'll be settled in the next tiebreaker. For now, though, we did watch the last game, as overall, the story was pretty much exactly as we expected from the last game. Rascal Jester, like we had mentioned, just Pink, a little bit weak in the laning department. Overall, there were some disconnects in the early half of the game from Rascal Jester, but I do enjoy that they stayed composed, they worked it all through, and when it came to the later stages of team fights, they played with a good amount of reserve, and they never lost that eye to try and find a playmaking opportunity. They never lost the look that you need to have when you're playing from behind. I've talked about this in the LJL before. I talked about it a lot in Summer Split. It's very easy for some teams to kind of be like, oh, we're behind, we're on such a back foot, and for you to give too much respect to your opponent and not try to assert yourself back into the game by punishing mistakes. That whole game was a perfect example of how Rascal Jester were losing early to Axes, were just kind of getting their lanes kind of walked on a bit. And then when it came to the later ends of things, they punished Axes for their lack of cohesion time and time again until it netted them Soul, it netted them 2 Barons, and ultimately netted them the win. We'll see if they're able to either clean up the early parts of the game or keep that kind of late game play up, and likely will be needing both against a team like CGA. Crest Gaming Act, definitely a lot more of a threat in each of the lanes all the way across, top to bottom. Arya especially is one that I look at as far as the mid lane, just because Arya has had such breakout performances. The benefit, of course, for Pink in this scenario is CGA kind of, for the mid lane matchup specifically, sorry, I'm totally just drawing a blank right now. I just had a moment. CGA, in the mid lane department, we typically see Arya on champions like Sylas, Kassadin, things that are a little bit weaker early and kind of scale up towards the later end of the game. And I'm curious to see if Pink will be able to kind of handle that due to his a little bit weaker lane phase. So possibly opportunity for Pink to have a safer lane throughout this game and see what he can do in the later stages of the game when he's not getting blown out of the water early on. That being said, I do think also Vivid had some moments early on that he was going for plays that was just a little bit off, a little bit just not quite, just there was the flash he had on set early on in the lane while the Tristana mid was already in rotation, and he randomly decided to flash for a play under turret. I don't mind the look, or excuse me, Nagi, not Vivid. I don't mind the look coming out from Nagi, but it's definitely one of those plays where you need to be recognizing the map as a whole. If you're going to try to even attempt a play like that, because it ended up just being so bad for them so quickly. But easy things to clean up. Grendel, though, actually has just been having a great performance in the weeks prior. Definitely had a couple highlight plays as well. Just a lot of support playmaking all around. But I think the mid lane matchup is definitely going to be where I look personally as one of the breaking points of this game, because we've yet to see Pink in a winning lane situation overall. And then of course there is Nap in the top lane into Cog. The other sort of, or one of the routes that I could possibly be seeing as a win con for Rascal Jester would be the jungle position into Unica. And this would be something that Rascal Jester would have to try to orchestrate, and hopefully they'll, if they do want this, they'll pick accordingly. But Hachimecha prone to things like the Rek'Sai, towards Lee Sin, towards early aggression junglers, into, if you going to try and bully out some of the new players, you definitely can, you have an opportunity to pick on Unica in the jungle, who, while he has not been a particularly weak jungler, he's a very reserved jungler. There's a couple times where he will deliberately back away from plays that he could have gone for, just in favor of, we don't have all the vision that I'd like to have this, or he doesn't make the call to turn right away. That being said, safe play is less often a bad thing than a good thing, but in the case of Unica, I would like to see him kind of mix in a little bit more aggressive patterning, especially when you hand him over picks like Olaf and things of that nature. I definitely think CGA can kind of... Unica, I'm sure it is very much in his own head that he, you're on the pro play stage. I completely understand. This isn't Akihabara Cup. This is the pro play stage. So when it comes to things like that, I definitely look at, when I watch players like that, it's that sort of like scarred and scared mentality of like, things didn't work out for me here or here, and you get a little gun shy, and you need to be a little bit more willing to send on the plays if you are drafting aggression picks like Olaf or even Graves to some extent and things of that nature. For now though, CGA their first time up to bat for this week, and would enjoy a win to kind of ride that momentum into Sengoku in the closer match of today, and one that I will look forward to. One thing I do kind of like to talk about a lot is kind of that like momentum that you build from coming fresh off of a win. I definitely think it has effects on players' mental. You always do try to take that reset moment and, like really collect yourselves before games, but it's much easier to kind of ride that wave of, we just came off a win, and hopefully that will serve as much to Rascal Jester's benefit here, if it doesn't end up serving to CGA's moving into the last game of today, but will remain to be seen. For the side of Rascal Jester, though, I'm a little bit worried about their overall performances during the split. I enjoy seeing that their teamwork is all together, and I enjoy seeing that, there's always like two things that you can kind of talk about when you're watching, or when we're talking about the last game in particular. Axis' problems versus CGA's problems. If you're Rascal Jester and you have like these kind of like laning issues, if it's nerves, it's not insanely hard to fix. That's something that you can overcome in time. But there were a couple of moments where we were watching Pink kind of get solo killed, that it just looked, it looked like he was playing just a tier below what he needed to be on the pro play stage. He just ate like 4 Tristana autos early on in the lane and let himself get jumped on for particularly no reason. And plays like that are just so monstrous, or just so blatantly bad, it makes me a little bit worried, because I want to say, he's just, Pink is just nervous. you know, he's just getting into the LJL. This is his first week on stage where he's not at home. But that being said, it's not a good look if that's something that is happening to you by any team in particular, and I worry when you're going up against better teams like this. For the side of Axes, you know, the team coherency issues are equally as hard, if not harder in some aspect, and that's very mechanics versus, you know, just overall team cohesion and teamwork that comes out. So Rascal Jester, some things to still be worked on, some things to still fix. But hopefully, now that you've already had one game on stage, you can shake that off a bit and move into this game confident and fresh. While we wait for this match to get started up here.
チームをキャリーする役回りなのはこのアリア、ミッドのアリアです。ミッドのアリアの DPM はウィーク2までで720です。これはちょっと異次元ですよね。高すぎますよね。ミッドレーナー、そうです、ミッドレーナーなんですよ。結構今シーズンはそのカルマであったりといったところのピックが増えているので。
And one thing that I do, one of the last few things that I do kind of want to draw attention to, in terms of just the newer players to the LJL stage, is we have kind of seen Unica performing okay. He has not, you know, other than being a little bit gun shy, he's not overperforming, not underperforming from what you'd expect from a rookie player. But it's sort of interesting because CGA is not a team that plays around their jungler very hard. Definitely when I can think even when Yoshi was on the team, there weren't a whole lot of opportunities where I was watching CGA follow, you know, they're looking to their jungler for plays, or they're looking to their jungler for where they need to be. It was very, CGA plays much more around their mid lane for Arya, as well as just having a solid bot lane between Gango and Grendel. So it's sort of, I feel like the spotlight not being so directly cast on Unica allows him a little bit of relief in pressure when it comes to trying to show up in these kinds of games. And while we have a little bit of downtime, I would just kind of like to talk a bit about the state of these teams as a whole, and or at least when it comes to these newer players, I definitely feel like Pink might be one of the weakest of the newer picks to the scene. He just has not had, it feels like, any real performance. Even when they gave him the Katarina, he was really capitalizing off of what felt like DFM running it down in that game, and they weren't even able to close it out. So Pink definitely comes to mind as one of the laners that I want to be most critical of coming into the pro play spotlight. Nagi as well, and Natsume on Axes, none of them have really been overperforming, it feels like. I haven't seen a ton of great things from all of them. All of them felt like they've been really struggling early on in the split. The rest of Aramic on Hawks Gaming for the top lane, he's been doing okay. He's definitely been kind of floating along, but he has also kind of forced Hawks Gaming into drafting Wukong nearly every game. And not that Wukong is a bad champion, but I'm still hesitant to give an overall opinion of Aramic until we see him on some more champions. When he gets Wukong, he does fine, and he does Wukong's job correctly. But it's you wonder what is to be desired once he is on other champions, and what you see him having to, you know, either play the frontline carries or to try, if Wukong is banned away, does he have other champions in his repertoire that he's ready to build out? Unica and Yu-Gi-Oh on Burning Core are both of the both of the players that I think have kind of been playing up to par of the LJL. I think Yu-Gi-Oh's been doing just fine. I think him demonstrating that he can play Lulu or he can play some of the other meta picks. Has he been doing an outstanding performance? No, but neither has Unica. Both of them have just kind of been... They've met expectations. There hasn't been that very, like, pop-off all-star LJL rookie. But when it comes down to later down the split, I definitely both of them are going to be players that I look at as far as the rookies that impressed me this split, or rookies that I think earn rookie of the split in my eyes. While we're still getting, just awaiting things to start up here. We'll be wondering as to CGA specifically where their sort of plans lie as far as a split goes onward. I definitely think this game will be a telling game as far as if CGA are not able to safely and securely team fight against against Rascal Jester, then I definitely worry about their chances into somebody like Sengoku. But speaking on the subject of momentum, I definitely would hope that CGA are at least coherent in the later ends of this game, even if they are able to accrue a lot of early advantage due to the sort of weak laning of Rascal Jester. That's not exactly a repeat performance, or a repeatable performance, excuse me, that you will be able to have against Sengoku moving into their next game. So I would like to see that CGA knows how to take advantage of the weaker lanes, but also that they're able to pilot the late game successfully, and they don't allow Rascal Jester the same opportunities that they had to try and pull back into this one. But we'll see where things lay as CGA going to be banning away Karma off of the first ban here. The typical B1 ban, as Varus as well is soon to follow. Both of these teams are fairly consistent within the, are fairly familiarized with the meta by now, as Lulu going to be taken away by CGA, but the Draven, a little bit of respect given over to Gango there, as I believe Gango is the only AD to be pulling out a Draven in the LJL. We did see the Halo, I do believe he played Halo Blades Draven earlier on, and played it quite well, as Aphelios and LeBlanc both going to be banned away. CGA with their first pick opportunity. The Graves going to be locked in right away, and personally, I might have liked to have seen a flex pick come out from CGA. Graves has not been shown a ton of priority in the LJL, so this easily could have been something you draft up on like the B3 pickup without having to give away this much information. But Rascal Jester going to take away Yumi as their first pick. And they have all the rest of their champions to really pair alongside the Yumi. You can go Ezreal here, one of the high contest ADs. But Ornn is actually going to be picked up for Rascal Jester, securing their top lane and support. And this draft is kind of going in an interesting direction. CGA kind of gave away a bit of information with that Graves right away. They kind of show their hand in jungle, but Rascal Jester content to show their hand in the top lane as well, giving Kog'Kog a repeat Ornn performance, while CGA are gonna lock in the Callista here. I'm curious what they lock in alongside it. Wouldn't be surprised to see a Thresh pick up here to keep that being banned away in the later half here, or possibly wouldn't be surprised Nautilus, another great pick. really a preference pick between the two for Grendel there if you want to go down the route of Thresh or Nautilus. Already having a Yuumi locked in on Rascal Jester's side, you know you have your pick of the litter, as Ezreal going to be picked up here, most likely by Rascal Jester. So now, Rascal Jester kind of are in an interesting position where they can pinch away some of the top lane pool. I wouldn't be surprised to see an Aatrox ban, possibly even a Wukong or Renekton ban, depending on what Nap is most familiar with. We did see a pretty impressive performance on his Renekton in the past, so opportunity presents itself there. Azir going to be taken away, though, as that sort of late game team fight oriented mage, while Malzahar is going to be taken away as well. And this gets kind of risky for Rascal Jester. If both teams are kind of all-inning onto this mid lane pinch in the ban section, it really will start to put to the test how deep Pink's champion pool is versus somebody like Arya. Well, Zoe going to be hitting the ban table as well, and Rek'Sai soon to follow that one. Rascal Jester have a couple opportunities available to them. Wouldn't be surprised to see a jungler picked up here. A couple jungle options still available. Lee Sin, if you want to go down that route. As well as Trundle, likely going to be passed over in favor of the Lee there. It's Trundle a little bit hard to work into this kind of a comp. Gets kited out by Graze kind of easily without having the extra W move speed or phase rush as commonly seen, but Cassiopeia going to be locked in by CGA here. Looking at a Wukong as well. Now this is kind of interesting because Arya is absolutely one of those mid laners that can play very dive-oriented characters like Sylas, like Kassadin, things of that nature, but he ends up actually opting for more of a team fight champ. But drafting up the Wukong after is a little bit, reaches in different directions, so we'll see how CGA end up playing this one through. But it looks like Pink will be repeating the Katarina performance. They're happy to give Pink a second go at the Katarina. Not a huge fan of Katarina, but still waiting to see Pink have his pop-off performance on it. One thing I will say is, looking at the lanes, you don't exactly have the best answers for Katarina in the world, especially... Oh? Are we going to see the Kalista being swapped into the mid lane onto the... That sort of feel... I don't know if that's necessarily better, but it looks like that might have been what we sent on... I believe we might have a Cassiopeia ADC and a Kalista moving into the mid lane. Yeah, it will. Arya's going to be piloting the Kalista into Cat here. This is a little bit of a... you know what? I'll believe in you, CGA. I don't know what you've had cooking back there. I don't know where your heads are at right now. But I like it. And, you know, by all means, this could go either way and go either way hard. Either this Kalista will be running down Katarina for most of this game, or Cat can easily pop off in this one, and that will be a quick way for this game to go south go south for CGA.
さあ始まりました LJL2020 サマースプリットウィーク3ゲーム7クレストゲーミングアクト vs ラスカルジェスタースタートです。
And my eyes are already drawn to Kalista, Hail of Blades, ready to scrap in that mid lane. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, Art and Nagi actually drafting up 2 exhausts. alongside the heal for Nagi. It's going to be trying to prevent as many all-ins as they can while we get into a pause. But that being said, this is... If they are going to show this much priority to, or this much attention towards Pink to keep giving him the Katarina, I'm hoping that we'll see him really come to perform off of it. I think possibly it was a little bit conflated in their game against DFM, where he was able to get a double kill, but I did end up going back and watching that one through. It just felt like DFM went through such a throw in that game, and they did manage to clutch it out, but having a Yumi as well does kind of help Katarina stay alive and hopefully survive a little bit longer, but it looks so odd to me when I'm watching it, because Rascal Jester could easily all in on a dive comp. You could be drafting things like Wukong. You could keep the Ezreal Yumi that you've been having, as it kind of works forward very well with the rest of the team, and then just take something like a Trundle to have the slow to guarantee your way in, or even more dive-oriented junglers to give Katarina a platform. But the problem that Rascal Jester has in this game, the same as their last, is Katarina's basically solo diving. The benefit this time is that CGA does not have an abundance of CC to really deal with a Katarina flying into their back line, as CGA finding their way in, looking to try and get a late invade going onto the blue buff here. This would be a great position for CGA, actually, as I don't believe Rascal Jester saw their way in. They did ping the blue buff, and given the path that CGA are taking back into lane, they should know that ended up being split that way. But it does give Unica a decent amount of pressure onto that side of the map to keep the Cassiopeia safe early on in this lane. As Hachimecha going to smartly be going over to the opposite-ended blue, as map will be split vertically for now. Nap feeling the fun that is Ornn in the top lane. Very hard to battle past that one, especially in those early levels, as Gango and Grendel getting a great lane state, actually, right off the bat to hold on to those level advantages for now. I'm really curious how Arya is going to be playing this one out, as Pink is already up to level 2. Very common for Katarinas to go for that level 3 all-in once you have all of your abilities. But I wonder if you're even able to, the same way, pull it off against a Kalista, who can dash out of the spinning blade passive that you get every time you pick up one of the blades, as Arya's trying to bait him onto it. Beautifully done by Arya, actually. Baits Pink onto the to take the Shunpo onto the dagger. Gets out of it, doesn't take any damage, and gets a couple autos on there for it. Well, Grendel wandering up here, throwing down a ward, trying to see what information he can find. Now Arya will just be kind of shoving in the lanes, accruing a CS lead. But it looks like they'll be pivoting now over to Hachimecha, grabbing the crab, and should be getting out safe for now, while Unica spots the crab on his way back in. And Arya is just doing everything in his power to be as annoying as possible to Pink. Doran's shield not even really going to account for much, while top side of things, Nap is having about as much fun as Pink is in the mid lane at the moment. Meanwhile, Gengo was able to get a recall off in the bot side, grabbed an extra Doran's ring, as well as little extra mana regen for his back pocket, which is much needed for Cassio specifically. That gank's not going to quite work out, but Cass definitely burns through a lot of mana very early on. It's very actually hard for Cass to take an all-in, but one presents itself here. Not going to get the miasma down in time to stop Art from teleporting back, but they can kind of chase this one all the way through. Unica's flashing forward. Will force the flash out of Art, and that is all summoners burned on the bottom side of the map. Unica, the only one who had to burn his flash on the side of CGA. Well, Arya is here. Might be a little bit too close for comfort as he's going to take a decent amount of damage. Unica dashes over the wall to try to get the Q bounce, but Art goes forward. Ends up finding the kill there. Now the teleport's coming in as Pink's going to go ahead and pick up that kill. Hachimecha securing that one for himself. Kakak flashes forward. Will get a slow. The Q does not find the wall for the dredge line. Pink might be able to pick up that one. Art going to actually snipe that one away with a mystic shot. Sniping away a second and one. Auto attacks. I think that was a almost everyone except for Nap going down there. Nap not even teleporting for that one. And what a play from Rascal Jester, finding 4 kills to open up this game. A bit chaotic, but they end up making it work. So Arya kind of wandered just a weird amount in there once you've already known that Hachimecha was there, because they did see him off the counter gank. As Unica tries to go forward there to help out, ends up kind of putting himself in way too deep. And like I mentioned just moments ago, Cass is not someone that can all in very early on. Kind of needs tier to really start opening up in these team fights. And Rascal Jester may have just found themselves a decent little gold steroid. Specifically, Art is going to be huge in this one. Maybe down 20 CS, but 3-0-1. Already having Sheen and tier, so you're over the 2 big hurdles of the early game that Ezreal typically goes through. That is a lot of damage that he's going to be able to start putting out now. While Unica will be able to grab up the Mountain Drake. Don't think Hachimecha is going to be contesting it right away. But now CGA really need to start being careful, as you can't afford giving up that. You can't really afford any plays like that. That was a lot of gold to just give away at seemingly random. It just felt like Arya was being overly aggressive, possibly overestimating his strength a bit there. And the problem with that is once Arya is engaging in a roam, he's relieving Pink of pressure while Unica's gonna come over the wall here. I believe he did get the smite to take that one away, as Hachimecha's gonna have his laners to get himself to safety, but now no more turret to protect you, as Grendel's dredge line will miss. They're gonna back out of that one, wait for their friendly Nautilus before bouncing over the wall. But this is sort of the issue that I think is kind of presented with CGA's comp, is that Cassio needs so much more time than the rest of his team to really be in a good position. Meanwhile, on the side of Rascal Jester, there's some coherency with their comp. The Ornn is kind of the odd man out, but if Ezreal is just going to end up 3-0-1 this early on in the game, it's going to be very easy for him to deal out so much damage that Cassio may not get the chance to really reach the items she needs to in order to turn into that kind of team fight carry that is commonly looked at Cassiopeia for. But both junglers cresting into their level 6 now. Hachimecha has a little bit of playmaking opportunities opening up for himself, while Grendel roaming around here, trying to get some information on this Rift Herald. Rascal Jester will see Grendel on the other end of the map. And it looks like Pink is going to try and get a reset off here. But I don't think CGA will be starting up the Rift Herald right away, as actually yeah, I was going to say Unica is on it already. A little bit risky given the situation, but they possibly saw Pink taking the back there and made the call to just burn it down. Beautiful play there, and we'll see what Hachimechi is able to trade from that pressure. Not showing up to that Elder or the Herald at all sort of baits that he's even in this lane, but Nap smartly going to back away from that one. Avoids a gank, and honestly, free Rift Herald for CGA, not a bad deal. Now in the mid lane, the sort of benefit to Pink of getting the three assists is somewhat neutralized in two different areas. One, Arya, about 30 CS up, has effectively killed Pink in lane and gotten a little extra gold on top of it, but more specifically, forcing Pink onto the Seeker's arm guard this early delays the Gunblade in the hands of Pink, which is such a huge power spike for Katarina. It's really like the core item she needs to start doing damage, and so things get a lot harder for Katarina the longer you go without it. We'll see what that kind of comes into, as CGA might know it. They're going to look for a fight here opportunity onto Hachimechi. They're going to dash away to his friendly mid laner, and likely is part of the reason that Rascal Jester is not wanting to take any fights around objectives, giving up Rift Scuttlers and things of that nature, just because while Hachimechi, sure, you might be able to get a flashy kick off, you might be able to get a play going, Pink is not exactly strong enough to be a real threat in any of these fights, and Art is 90% of where their strength is. As a true shot barrage is going to find his way across three, but thinking about a dive opportunity, Hachimechi is here to make sure that nothing really goes down. Sonic Wave finds his way onto a minion. He actually could have followed that up for a quick insect, but missed the opportunity there. Risky one to go for, as it's definitely a trade of life for Hachimechi having no flash. And realistically, Art is already plenty fed enough that that's not exactly a concern, but he will be trying on the bot lane. We'll see if it ends up working out for him. No, yet again, a lot of these opportunities for Hachimechi have just kind of been very wishy. Waiting up in the top side, hoping that Nap walks up too far. Hey, he doesn't walk up too far. Well, now you've just leached a little bit of XP from your top laner. I'll wait in this bush here. You kind of just ended up wasting your own time. And now no dragon opportunity after losing the Rift Scuttler. Hachimechi is kind of struggling to find a lot of value here early on, or at least find many gankable opportunities. Is returning to the Drake, and now with Rascal Jester fresh off of their backs, has opportunity to take that one away for themselves, as we'll see what Drake is hitting the Rift. It is going to be Cloud Soul in opportunity. Now, Cloud Soul really is going to benefit CGA more than anything, as speaking of benefiting CGA, they're trying to get a gank off on the Cog. Cog does burn his flash down, but nothing he can't escape from in the end. But the ulti cooldown, or the ulti move speed bonus, really only kind of benefits Kalista and Wukong. Allows Wukong more knockup opportunities, as well as just move speed is kind of a stat that works to Arya's or Kalista's benefit very well. Allows her dashes to be a little bit faster, get more auto attacks, be just a lot harder to track down in a team fight. That aside, Rascal Jester not exactly the greatest users. The extra ult CDR does kind of help Hachimechi to keep looking for playmaking opportunities. But we'll see how things go here. So, for CGA, you can kind of just walk around the map at your leisure, it feels. Nagi is on Hachimechi here, just kind of hanging out with him. You kind of need a champion that has a dash or some relative safety when you are playing Yuumi, as getting vision established on different areas of the map is very difficult. As a Yuumi, you don't want to be detached solo. You're really just walking around with someone else to get wards down. Fortunately for CGA, they do get first turret solo over to the Cassiopeia. That's definitely going to help kind of bring her back up to par in items. Still working on stacking up for that Seraphs, as Grendel gonna miss a dredge line here. Still walking up a bit, and it's kind of a scary idea here. You don't have Gango, as Grendel's gonna be going very, very low. Pink is gonna look for an opportunity, dropping the dagger so he can hopefully dash back away. Grendel gonna get ignited, but might, yes, he will. I was gonna say burns down in the end. Flash and ignite on Pink, going to be enough to secure that kill. Pink happy to just be getting really anything going in this end of the game, as I'm sure the lane into Arya was not exactly a fun one for him. That being said, that's more pressure over to Rascal Jester now, as CGA is going to find themselves onto Hachimecha. They might just find two if Nap's able to follow up with the knockup, but the teleport's going to deter them for now, as here comes Cog. All the Forge God goes in, not going to be able to just barely get that one onto Nap, as the E will knock him down. Unica flashing over the wall to get away from Art. Meanwhile, in the mid-end of the fight, Grendel's going to find a great dredge line, but not keep him safe enough, as Gango's forced to flash away. The Q misses, and he's going to be able to burn Cog down in the end, but Pink is here. He does have the miasma to keep Pink locked up. Misplay from Pink ends up actually kiting right onto the miasma. I don't know if maybe he couldn't see it in the bush. I'm not 100% sure, but once he was onto that miasma, all of Katarina's abilities just get locked up, as now Arya's looking to try and find his way onto Art. The Ren slow, not going to be enough, as a little bit of a duel for this crab here, as Gango recognizes he's just going to have to give that one away, not something he can really secure very safely. Goes to farm Gromp instead. We'll watch this one more time, as this fight split in so many directions so early on. So it starts off okay going for that play, and then immediately CGA need to make the call to start backing up. Teleport to follow comes out, as Unica is just dealing with Art solo on the other end of the map, and ends up pulling the Yumi away, which I think messed with Hachimecha, which is possibly the reason he ended up going down here. And Pink was just able to find no value, but we'll have to hold that thought as we're onto the Rift Herald already. Here comes the True Shot Barrage. Unica's going to go very, very low. I think he did end up getting that one, but he's not going to live long enough to secure that. No auto from Cog, but the Q will be able to finish that one off, as Nap's just getting knockups, trying to secure. I think he did end up getting the Rift Herald Eye there, and ends up actually getting so many knockups that CGA pull the fight back in their favor. There goes Nap, dropping it now into the mid lane. Sneaky Wukongs making their way into the back line. Actually ends up finding a huge amount, and I think that was sort of Rascal Jester playing a little bit too defensively around the eye, and globbing up for a huge Nap ultimate was kind of a bit of a project to follow that one. Well, CGA kind of ran rampant through that fight. It's going to help them secure two more turrets for themselves between the top and mid lane. So we'll watch this one more time. Unica just eats so much damage between Poke and True Shot Barrage that he's just not, like, it's pretty much all he can do to secure this one. Cog just goes so deep here to try and get this one going, as Pink's on the bottom end of things. But Nap comes in. That is a two-man knockup, or a three-man knockup into a two-man knockup off of the second cast of the R. There's just so much time that Rascal Jester spent CC'd and unable to get anything done, as CGA might have just stolen away a Cloud Drake. Never a dull moment in the LJL, as both teams are just scrapping tooth and nail for these objectives. Now the benefit now is Ezreal got a huge gold advantage early on, but look who also has put themselves up to 3-1 with a roughly 300 gold shutdown. Cassiopeia as well reaching her online point. Seraph still not yet completed, so does have to worry about being overly aggressive. Still doesn't have that shield, but completing Morello makes it much easier to burn down Yumi hosts, as well as just getting towards those extra items adds a lot of burn damage and really helps cut through any magic resist that at this point Rascal Jester doesn't have. But when you're dealing with Art on Conqueror, Pink on Conqueror, Yumi trying to, you know, burst a bunch of healing into whoever whoever her host is. It's not a bad pickup. I don't mind it a ton. And really will help in these kind of all-in fights that they've been having time and time again. Meanwhile, Pink is falling about 50 CS down over the course of this game. Just been such a struggle for Pink to... This is actually something that as one of the other reasons that Katarina kind of struggles in pro play is it's very, very difficult for Katarina to get the ideal circumstances for a team fight. So, when you don't have ideal circumstances for a team fight, you typically don't get, you know, you can see 1, 2, and 3, mostly assists coming out from the Katarina, not picking up a ton of gold in the fighting department. And then, when it comes to go farm a side lane or to the mid lane, you're up against a lot of mid lane, or a lot of ranged champs, or Nap, who could just outright kill you at this point. Well, it's 20 minutes in, and you still don't have a completed item to your name. Pink is definitely kind of struggling through this one. As Unika's looking for an opportunity onto Art, the Arcane Shift will get him out of that one. Waves being lost in the bot lane, Kawkog going for that one, as Art's going to be burning his flash to Nap's E. It feels like CGA is just in firm hold of the driver's seat this game. We'll see what CGA are able to come of it. Seraph's completed, and honestly, Baron is something that CGA can really think about. Cassiopeia, a great DPS champ for Baron, as well as having the Rend opportunity for CGA means it's very, very difficult for Hachimecha to smite when you're already looking at your jungler with a 2-level disadvantage. True Shot Barrage does enough damage to make CGA think twice, which is sort of the saving grace here, but a flash over Dredgeline. They may have just found themselves a cat running out in the forest. A beautiful find there by Grendel, as Nap's gonna go ahead and just go all in onto Hachimecha, knocking him up multiple times. No more R's, but no more R's needed, as Pink, the remaining member, Nap is gonna flash over for that one. He says, I'll finish this one off. They might just be able to end here. Kawkog was nowhere near a position to teleport. He will actually be able to defend, and they will be only getting an inhibitor. But Kawkog having a 0 presence in that fight is not what you want to see when Nap is just running down 3 members into their own jungle. Kawkog gets a knock up here, trying to just harass Nap as much as possible, but a good sidestep there means Nap won't be locked up anytime soon. Flashes forward. Kawkog's looking for a solo opportunity here. Nap was baiting with the clone. He baited so hard. Wait, he actually got Lee Sin to use the Dragon's Rage on his clone. He buys so much time for his team to finish off Baron there. Ooh, the madman. Beautiful stuff. One of the oldest Wukong tricks in the book, the AFK standstill to make you believe that you're a clone. We'll watch the original fight one more time as Grendel flashes over the wall. A little bit greedy for Grendel to, or for Nagi to even be there at that point. You're clearing a pink ward. You know CGA has vision, and they had just been clearing. They were standing on a ward. They knew that he was right over the wall, as Grendel just takes that opportunity and eats it right up. Rascal Jester are onto this Cloud Drake and will be able to secure that one for themselves, but CGA are happy to just take the extra time that they get pressuring other lanes with this Baron. And although Nap didn't net any kills off of the AFK bait with the clone, it was I love the play nonetheless. You dupe so many, you end up duping Kawkog, who chased down way too hard, and then immediately you actually get Hachimecha to burn kick, but keeping him distracted was all you really needed to do to get the Baron on the other end of the map there. Now Rascal Jester struggling to find any amount of gold here. We are 24 minutes in, and this Katarina has only completed one item. Please stop giving Pink this Katarina. But that being said, it's all to CGA's benefit as they're going to knock down this bot lane turret soon enough. Haven't been able to get a ton of value off of this Baron just yet, but CGA looking for a little bit of harass here onto this bottom side. Actually, overall, it's been negative in the gold gained as they haven't been able to crack open any turrets just yet. But now grouping as 5, they look to make their march down the mid lane. And it sort of comes about from that what a lot of other casters have talked about with the sort of downside of taking an inhibitor is you lose so much gold in minions to super minions just eating wave after wave in the mid lane, only to have Rascal Jester be picking those up. Still just barely not breaking even on this Baron play. Haven't been able to get a whole lot of pressure. You do knock down an extra turret, which is of course nice, but Baron running out now. CGA not exactly making the best use of this Baron. And now CGA gonna just take a reset now. Honestly, just kind of biding their time. They still are scaling, and realistically scaling much faster than Pink is, as he is almost gonna get Flame Horizoned by Callista here pretty soon. You'd hate to see it, but honestly, there's a reason Katarina seldom shows up in the pro play scene. And CGA look to make a reminder out of that. While they wait for the next objective to be up, it's sort of a harrowing sight to see CGA not be able to get anything done with that Baron, as likely will mean this game goes much longer. But we'll see how things go. If Rascal Jester are able to try and find a fight back into this one, they'll need to do it soon before the gold deficit gets any larger. And a decent amount of shutdowns to be cashed in on the side of CGA. Definitely would be a nice gold steroid if they're able to find an opportunity. Any kicks by Hachimecha onto either Arya or Gengo would definitely be a huge boon coming in, as also they are getting the benefit of Cog cresting into that level 14, getting some of those ornament upgrades. Slapping those on your carries does help kind of even out the deficit in terms of the stats gained. Well, Pink is happy to pick up some CS over there. And one thing I am looking at immediately is the little bit of garage sale that Pink has right now. The Blasting Wand is really standing out to me, as it's not something that's going to build into Zhonya's. You're limiting your CDR intake. I don't even know when he picked up that Blasting Wand, but I suppose it's to be seen. Please don't tell me he's building a Morello before he finishes his Zhonya's. I suppose he does have the stopwatch, so he's not too worried about it. Oh, Rascal Jester are trying to shove this mid lane up as much as they can. Grendel almost finding a great dredge line. He still has R opportunity. Flashes forward so he can make sure he can get 2 knockups there. See how long they can keep Cog knocked up. The miasma doesn't stop the flash, but doesn't stop the damage either, as Cog's gonna go down there. Nap is gonna go down trying to dive too deep, but it will be enough damage to make sure Cass can finish off Pink, as now Rascal Jester kiting away towards the bottom side of things. Hachimecha might get burned down to the Ignite here, barely gonna live away, as Art is doing his best to just throw damage back into the lines of CGA. He's going over the wall here, but there goes Gengo with the Zhonya's. Dredgeline's gonna find that one, and they should be able to burn down Art. Eing back over the wall, ends up actually finding his way onto the Cassiopeia. Doesn't quite burn down Grendel though, and that will be all she wrote for CGA. Should be able to end the game here. 15 seconds on Pink to respawn. Grendel is very low HP, but not much you can really do. They might not actually be able to end. They will really only be able to get another inhibitor. Pink's level disadvantage actually coming in clutch here, as he would just be able to clean up that fight very well. And we'll watch this one more time. Nap goes a little bit too deep too early, as it takes just a bit too long for them to get onto Cog, and Hachimecha is just forced to use kick defensively. So he goes all in here. He eats the final chapter from Yumi. And then at that point, Pink is just way too low. And this is where CGA should have made the call to back up. I understand that you want to be making the call to keep moving forward. You want to try and pressure. But it's so risky to be chasing a champion like Ezreal, especially with a Yumi strapped on. And I love this E over the wall to get right back over onto the Cassiopeia. Beautifully played from Art there to try and find as much value as you possibly can. A little bit of extra gold into his pocket. So he's going to be going for Armor Pen right away, not even going for the Bork just yet. Now another opportunity presents itself. Nap with the knock-up coming in here, has second R, but gets kicked out before he can cast it. Now that's going to be Arya locked up in the mid lane. Goes golden just to buy himself some time, but will Rascal Jester be able to pick up the pieces here? Hachimecha is going down as well. Gonna get run down by Arya. Nowhere you can really run. And once Art is dead, the team seems to fall apart. CGA are gonna take this one home. Rascal Jester, Nagi's trying to get away. The dredge line's gonna miss, but beautifully played from Arya. Gets in just long enough for the auto rend before kiting back out of the fountain. They will get the ace. They will get the win. And try as Rascal Jester might. This game was just slowly taken out from under them. CGA scrap away with the win. Good stuff to both teams, and Rascal Jester did their best to try and keep their heads afloat in this one, but CGA just started to drown them out in how much value they were able to get. And really, what was Rascal Jester continuing to show so much priority on giving Katarina over to Pink, who already is a weak laner. I keep looking at this pick that Rascal Jester does, and we're criticizing Pink as a weak laner already, even on champions that are not Katarina. Why give him a champion that cannot really lane altogether? But that being said, good stuff to CGA. We'll go into our last game coming up, but this is going to be one you'll want to tune in for, as CGA are going to take on, or excuse me, we're going to go into our last game with V3. I'm looking at the wrong schedule. That's why my brain was lagging. We have Sengoku versus CGA coming up next. Don't go anywhere.
今後そのスクリームの結果等々でこれが運用されていくのかどうかというのはまた変わってくると思いますが、いや最後のところもフラッシュがないアート選手のことも分かってますからね。そこを冷静に逃さずにナップ選手が入っていって一気に集団戦破壊したというような形にはなりましたね。どうでしょう、そのカリサを使って序盤からカタリナに対してレーンのプレッシャーをかけて少数制の参加をかなり遅らせるというところはずっと正確に行うことができていましたから、ここはやはり狙い通りだったのかなという印象を受けましたね。そのサイドレーンに入れてという動きはほとんどなかったというような、本当に最初の1回の集団戦ですかね、あれぐらいだったかなというような、ありますよね。そうですね。あとはそのオブジェクトに要所要所寄っていくというシーンはあったものの、うまくちょっと集団戦の形、カウンターで入っていく形を作りきれなかったなというところでしたね。どうですかね、この挑戦的なピックと、リクルさんも言われてましたけれども、ここがやはりそのプレーオフに向けて、やはりその手札が増えていくという意味でも非常に重要なことだと思いますし、今後もこれは続けていくと思いますね。ありがとうございます。それでは勝利したクレストゲーミングアクトへのインタビューがございます。竹田さんお願いいたします。
はい、こちらにはクレストゲーミングアクトよりグレンデル選手に来ていただきました。お疲れ様でした。さあ、ウィーク3オフラインになって初戦勝ちました。いかがですか？
はい、なんかオンラインの時よりやっぱこう久々で緊張感があってすごいこうドキドキしながらプレイしてました。
緊張感がある方が乗る感じですか？どうですか？
そうですね、やっぱある程度緊張感がある方がプレーとかもこう集中する感じがあるので、僕はオフラインの方が好きですね。
いいですね、ありが とうございます。さあ勝さんよろしくお願いします。
さあその中でその集団戦に行ってからの逆転勝利という形に近いのかなと思いますが、CGA気になるのがやはりその序盤のちょっと有利を渡してしまう展開も多いなと思いますが、そこについてはチームとしてまたしてはグレンデル選手としては何か思っているところってありますか？
そうですね、すごいアグレッシブなコールが多いので、本当は僕が止めないといけないんですけど、そこをうまく止まらなくて全員アグレッシブにいって全員殺されて、ですがなんかチーム的には雰囲気は良かったんで、すごい問題はない感じでした。
なるほど、ありがとうございます。そんな中でエンゲージのツールもナップ選手かグレンデル選手というところ限られた中でもしっかりと決めていったコールっていうのはやはりグレンデル選手からエンゲージのコールっていうのはしていったんでしょうか？
そうですね、僕というよりもチームでもうアート選手を倒すっていうことで意思統一してたんで、アート選手が前に出て E 使ったタイミングやもうフラッシュないタイミングでもう誰でもいいんでアート選手倒しに行こうって感じでコールしてました。
なるほど、分かりました。ありがとうございます。
最後に本日の最終戦では戦国ゲーミングとの4勝同士の直接対決となりますが、そちらに対しての意気込みをお願いいたします。
はい、そうですね、危ない勝ちが多いんですけど、でもちゃんと勝ってはきているので、今回も勝てると思うので応援よろしくお願いします。
ありがとうございます。
はい、皆様応援よろしくお願いします。クレストゲーミングアクトよりグレンデル選手に来ていただきました。ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
さあ続いての試合までインターバルです。
ラスカルテスターも一度引いていきます。アリアの位置に気づいた。そしてそのアリアを狙いに行くが、ここはエグゾーストすぐさま反転の形。クレストゲーミングアクト、さあはちゃめちゃを狙いに行ったのはユニカ。ただアリアに先に届いた。ラスカルテスターがファーストブラッド。ここでピンクが合流。まずは瞬歩で距離を詰めユニカをそのまま持っていった。2キル獲得。ラスカルでした。コグコグもテレポートから駆けつけ溶岩隆起灼熱の土石、怒りでは飛ばせない。グレンデルはフラッシュアウトを選択。タワーシャン逃げ延びましたがアートのミスティックショット当たっている。さらには瞬歩ピンクの強気なプレーがこのアートのダブルキルを引き寄せた。
思っているノモテラスがいませんからね、カタリナを止められない。
いやただこのフルバフスティールに対して旋風演武返していくナップ。イグゾーストで対応ラスカルでした。さあテレポートを使ってコグコグが裏に回った。ただそのコグコグをアリアが見ている。アートに対してはユニカが張り付いているがコグコグが強い。まずはナップを打ち取ったラスカルジェスターが1キル獲得。さらにはユニカがフラッシュアウト。さあアリアがステップを踏みながらダメージを返していきますがどうなるか。アートに対してアリアが張り付いている。そして宿命のみ声。ただこれはフラッシュアウト。コグコグが前線を張りますがここでダウン。ピンクは裏に回り込んでローヘルス。しかし宮妻がかなり効いている。動けないピンクを捉えたのはクレストゲーミングアクト。3キル獲得で3ストレート。リフトヘラルド前集団戦が起こりそうだ。グレンデルのフック。しかしここは不意後の息。バックライノックアッパーツーマンヒット。ファイナルチャプターを返すのはラスカルでした。さあスネアが入ったユニカを狙っていきたいがあと一発が届かない。ただここは溶岩隆起。さあ1キル取ったラスカルでした。ただ旋風塩分2回目ツーマンノックアップ入ってそのまま持っていくのはアリアだ。3キル獲得はクレストゲーミングアクト。ここが身を挺して守りますがはちゃめちゃにスローが入ってその先にグレンデル。クレストゲーミングアクトエース獲得。フルショットパラージで気づきました。それを受けて CGA はすぐさま反転の構え。爆雷ははちゃめちゃへ。その手前にいたノックアップをもらったナギがまず倒されます。さらには旋風炎部裏に回ったナップがツーマンヒット。クラッシュをした先ではちゃめちゃが再びノックアップ。さあ怒りは伸ばして当たったのはアート。石化のマガンも完璧だ。ダブルキル獲得ナップ。そしてフラッシュインでもう1キル。クレストゲーミングアクト4キル獲得。当たりません。さあしかしフラッシュインでアートに爆雷。前線を張るのはコグコグ。突撃を返しています。コグコグフラッシュアウト。しかし怒りを伸ばしてそのコグコグ宿命の部外ナップがバックライン飛び込んでいった。アートには届いてはいるがしかしファイナルチャプターからの素晴らしい返しラスカルでした。しかしピンクがドットダメージ。さらにはラストはツインファングガンガン持っていった。フラッシュインで追っていくクレストゲーミングアクト。はちゃめちゃな体力はロー。しかしアートは十分な体力があります。アートがダメージを出し切れるか。スモークスクリーン視界がないがおっと狙っていたアリア。ローヘルスはちゃめちゃ打ち取っている。さらには怒り当てたグレンデル。さあエクゾーストをアートに使ってはいるがアンケージェットから逆に前に出てガンガン打ち取っている。さあしかしアートに届いたのはクレストゲーミングアクトエース獲得。ドラゴンソウルリーチです。集団戦またしても狙っていく。ナップが姿を消してアートフラッシュエクゾーストまだ上がっていない。バックライアーケージシュート上がったがそのバックラインのダメージで倒された。ファイナルチャプター返して